My coffee.
Coffee.
What do you call coffee in Australia?
Coffee, you racist.
Coffee. That should be coffee all over the world, I think. Cafe in a few.
Oh.
I'm trying to think now whether we have any other fucking things for it. Not really.
You guys do have all the cool slang, though.
Right.
Every time I try to think of one, I fucking got fuck all.
What does wuckus mean?
Walkers, like W-U-W, like no worries. I don't know where.
Oh, okay.
And then it's like no fucking worries becomes no walking furries. So then somehow I think that's no wuckers. And it's just like.
Okay. I just figured out from my little girl that the way to properly say day is you actually say die. So if you want to say good day, mate, you say good day, mate.
Yeah, g'day. Nah,
G'day.
it probably depends state by state. G'day. No one says it. That's the thing. Like you got to be like, you got to be 60 to be like walking around going, "G'day, mate." You're like, oh, old school boy. You're like, which part of the country are you from? Yeah.
I want to get Matt on here. You're Matt. And,
Oh yeah, sure.
my buddy
Yeah.
Jesse.
He knows. Yeah.
Culture.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah, that Honda mask is fucking so rad.
Did you end up seeing that? I put it out. You know what? I think that was a Facebook feed, but our buddy Jesse, he's just a bad motherfucker, dude. He's helping Nico learn how to sculpt right now.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and I saw him in Lubbock. We were out playing pool, and I was like, man, I showed him my ring. And I was like, you need to make a Hanya mask like this. And then like a day later, I went on his feed, and he's like, I'm making this fucking thing now. And I'm like, okay, I'll take two.
Oh, is that big ass like gray clay thing?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I know the one. See, sometimes you just tell the names, you're like, no, I've definitely seen that on Instagram. Ringing bells. All right, so what's been happening? You guys been traveling?
Yeah, a lot of tattoo conventions.
Experts.
Yeah. 3 weekends in a row.
Yeah, this is the third weekend. I get 1 weekend off and then up to Denver after this.
Yeah, you guys definitely have a whole lot more of those schedules to fill with expos than we do. I'm missing one now, like Perth.
Is there a lot of expos in Australia?
No, we were just saying this last time. It's really like, because we've only got 7 states and not all states have them. So like, you know, Victoria has 2, New South Wales has 2, Perth has 1. So now there's, you know, like 10 sort of shows, something like that. Give or take bigger and small. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Cool.
50 in Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a whole different ball game over there. That's why we all try to get over there, because we get so bored with our shows doing them all so quickly. You know, like I've done a couple of years of all our shows, and I'm just like, I can't be fucked doing them anymore. Need some excitement.
Is Byron doing Three Eyes again this coming year, or?
No, I still haven't heard, and I haven't seen any release date, so I reckon he's going to hold on for like a 2-year thing maybe.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it sucks a little bit, but I mean, I guess it's a lot to organize, man. I seen him organizing that last one, and between running a shop, and I know he's just moved shop again. Like he's repositioned his shop somewhere else in Mount Barker in Adelaide, where he is. So that would have kept him busy after putting on this last one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because he was pumping it out, because he did the Perth show, the one that just passed, right?
He would have gone to it. Like, what do you mean by done it?
No, he had a booth and he was just selling stuff, right?
Oh yeah. He's at all those ones doing that shit. He's got his crew doing all that, or helping him do all that. But yeah, he's at all of them. And man, he's even back to tattooing these days. So he loves being.
Really? Yeah, because I saw him put a post out about some of those specifics, and I was like, man, I want to go buy one of those so bad.
I know, right?
I guess I'll put them to the show.
What is it?
It's the Injecta specific. It's like you can run a regular needle bar on it.
Yeah, the old school ones.
You can't put a needle bar on the other injectors?
No, they're a cartridge only system.
Yeah, they're just a cam, so there's like no like eye loop, you know, no loop to put a needle on. It's all
So this injective specific, it's only going to be for needle bars. It's not going to you're not going to be able to run cartridges on it. Or I guess you can. You just use a needle bar.
Exactly right, but it's an older one, so it was before the cartridge system really kicked off. It's yeah, when everyone was still just rocking normal needle bars.
It's like a throwback machine. Like he brought a couple out, I guess, because he had some in like left in stock.
I didn't see this post. Did he post this up just after we were talking about it?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, he put something up about ProTat having a couple of them, so I ran on there to see if they were on there.
God already. Next time I go to fucking Injector HQ, I'll see if I can dig one up for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I need myself one of those plastic, like compound machines. I sold it to that Chilean dude at the Dallas Expo. I need my back in my collection. But he thought I was there selling injectors. He's like, "Can you sell them to me?" And I'm like, "No, bro, I'm just here using my own." He's like, "I can't get them in Chile." I was like, "Come back tomorrow. I'll sell you this one." He was
because you sold the non-brass one, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there was no way I was getting my brassy.
Oh.
Well, it's crazy because the brass ones and the titanium ones are the same price right now.
Has he got brass ones out again? Does he?
Yeah, but he doesn't have the skeletized one. That's the one that I want. That's the next one that I want. Is that?
Yeah, same.
I guess I'm gonna have to get one. I tried it when they first came out, but the one that I got just had it didn't have the rigid bar in there.
Yeah.
So it just didn't have enough punch for me when I was using it.
I've even gone to just chopping like an actual needle bar and just like screwed that into there. So like you can get the black like solid needle bar, the rigid bar. But when they first come out, I was just like literally using an actual like stainless needle bar, just chopping it because it's the same size. So there was even, what was there? I'm not sure if they're T-Tech or maybe another brand's ones, but a few are coming out where they have like a little sort of like metal tip on the bottom of it, and they're perfect for it.
Yeah, I just take I get this disposable cartridge tubes, and they all come with a push bar, and I'll just cut the eye loop off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I've even found, because I put a O-ring around the back, like grip stem, and then around the stainless, and if I have the rigid bar with the plastic, it'll like burn out my O-ring, just like the plastic rubber.
Because I didn't put any kind of.
You don't have to, but I fuck around with these things too much.
I ordered that thing and I did 2 tattoos with it, and I was like, this is not hit hard enough for me.
This is not for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why that rigid bar is so important. And then, like, I just use the Sensi wrap, the bandages, and that kind of holds the needle bar back because I wrap the whole machine.
Yeah, it really depends what kind of tattooing you're wanting to do. That. Like, what kind of machines are you using at the moment, Jason?
Mostly the FK Irons Edge X.
Edge X. Which one's that?
That's the one that has the
the convenience of being in the place where you have all that shit, huh?
Exactly.
It would definitely made it a lot easier the last one I did in my room, where I was like, oh, I've got that right there. Hold on.
Yeah, I lucked out. I went to a show in LA, and FK Irons was sponsoring it, and so the winner of Best of Day and Best of Show got to pick machines.
Oh, that's fucking sick.
Super excited.
Yeah, man, that makes it worth winning shows and shit, huh? Better than a trophy. You get to use that shit.
You barely see it. It's got the. Where's that? There we go. It's got the little bitty dial right there on the very top.
Yeah.
And that's just for the give. You can just turn the give back.
That's like the dampener, huh?
Yeah. It's punchy. I mean, I own 3 of them, and I just used the one. But,
that's what
they were great though. I haven't had any issues. There was a few earlier FK Irons machines that I used that I wasn't too impressed with. The motors weren't burning up too well, but I guess they fixed that issue. So.
Did you ever just use the original like Hawk, Spirit and Thunders and shit like that?
Oh no, yeah, absolutely.
You got a Thunder right there, right?
Got a Spirit. No, I had the Thunder, and I really liked it. It was super punchy, and I used it for color. The only thing that I noticed is that because it didn't have any dampener on it, sometimes you would get into people that had kind of like that tissue layer skin on the top.
Yeah.
It was a little too much for their skin.
That papery skin.
Yeah, but
yeah, I remember back in the day making people pretty red and fucking sore with some of those.
You throw 27 mag in there and just blast the black in there so fast with the Hawk Thunder.
Yeah.
But no, I bought the Spirit because I noticed a couple of friends of mine doing black and gray that I feel I kind of look up to. I feel like they're doing a pretty good job. They use the Spirit, and they said that they feel like it's ideal for doing a lot of black and gray because of the way it hits. So
yeah, bro. I remember seeing heaps of people using the Spirit back in the day for all the black and grey stuff, and that's why I went to one of them ages ago. I was like, it was years ago when I was tossing around with a few rotaries, and then I found the Spirit, and that thing was fucking rad. But yeah, definitely, what's the word? Like, yeah, no give, so it's relentless.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think that's why I like the ejector with the solid bar so much, because it's versatile. As long as you've got good hand control, you can use it to pack color, you can use it to, blend in nice soft black and grays, and
that's probably the difference too. It's been a few years since I was using them back then, probably hacking people up. So what about for outlining and stuff? You still using rotaries as well? Because I've seen your outlines, Jason.
Yeah, no. I use the only rotary I use to outline with is Swash Whip.
Yeah.
I haven't. I think with small groupings, if you're using, maybe like a tight 7 and down, I feel like the rotaries do just fine. But anything up from that, I haven't found anything that I felt like was punchy enough to lay the lines in, and when they heal, they still be as solid as a coil. So
same.
The Swash Whip, and that's about the closest I can find. But that's a hard one. I keep changing brands of needles, trying to find that perfect liner cartridge, but bad.
No. If it ain't,
Dan Kuman's making a machine specifically for lining cartridges.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a big deal for him because he doesn't even use cartridges. This is all needle bar. Yeah, he doesn't really like cartridges, but I guess
he shits on a whole other level anyway. Hey, that's the stuff that he's making is crazy.
Yeah, do you use his machines over there?
I have not used one personally, but there's like out of the 13 dudes in our shop, there's 3 or 4 that have got Cubans, and they all rave about them. And now, like, just seeing them, I want to buy one.
Oh yeah. We got a lot of friends here that do dot work, mandala henna style stuff, and just traditional, and they just blast the lines. So
Cody loves those fucking things,
I mean,
man.
I seen him outline a lighthouse. What was the lighthouse? No, it was a cactus. No, it was a cactus. It was some cactus tattoo. Yeah. Probably about this big on the front of the guy's thigh, and he outlined the whole thing in 15 minutes. Clean, big fat outline all the way around the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Man.
Yeah, because I when I was tattooing, and I did a 1-day guest spot when we were in Lubbock at this place called Emerald Empire, and instead of taking all my shit in there, Jason had just got done tattooing, so I was like, fuck it, just leave all your stuff there. I'll go ahead and use your stuff, and I ended up tattooing with the Swash Drive, the Whip, and the Edge X. Really nice machines. It made me want to buy a Whip just for large grouping outlines and stuff like that. Because right now I'm using a coil machine, a Mike Godfrey, for like all the black claw needles that I have. That's why I wanted that specific, because I just want all ejector shit, and if I combine with that.
Exactly. The Whip is the one with the big brass weight on it, yeah?
Yeah, it's put it over your head.
This one right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Got that little flexible
bar.
It's
got the bar. And I think that's why it probably mimics a coil, because that bar swings back and forth like that. So
yeah, it's pretty close to an armature bar, huh? It's got that same, it's got the fulcrum motion, which is like pretty key to that sort of lighting. So. Yeah.
So what's been going over there in your hometown?
Tattooing wise, so we're like coming out of winter, so all serious clients kind of like been doing some like decent jobs and shit like that, but then it's also been time for everyone going on holiday. So
that trap you posted was looking super sick.
Cheers, man. It seems like I've been blasting heaps of traps lately. It's like traps and stuff next.
That's my favorite thing about the style that you guys do is that it just conforms to the body so well. I've been watching. The show that we were at this last weekend. There's a guy there that likes to do. I don't know.
It's
kind of like the '90s style.
Bio stuff. Yeah.
Real bright color.
Or you like big fat outlines, big bold shapes, all that sort of shit. Yeah, man.
Not a lot of texture, kind of smooth texture.
Exactly.
I still appreciate that shit. I'm probably gonna rock a whole back of that.
And I really want to try it. Yeah, after watching you do it.
Yeah.
Yours has so much depth to it, and then seeing his, and his being so bold, I was like, oh man, I just want to design one piece, just one sleeve or something, try it out, and just
I'd do it, man. I'd love to see everyone have a go at it, because everyone generally knows like the like basic rules that it's got to follow and bits and pieces. And everyone has the ability to do it. It's just blows some people's brains of how to start. And it's cool now because I see David like doing some, and I'd love to see your style doing it. And a few of the boys at our shop have now, just have to do fillers, and they come and watch me and then have a little crack. It's good fun, man. Because it's, it has certain rules, but it really is quite a free thing. And that's what makes it exciting to me to do.
Well, yeah, just grabbing some markers and like finding a design on somebody. Like it's interesting because you have a theme to your work. Jesse has a theme to hit what he does in the style of morphing in the skulls with all the bio stuff. And I think it's so fun to find your voice in that style because, it's all got to conform to these rules, but they're kind of loosely put in place that, hey, as long as it follows the curvature of the body and the muscular structure and it works with the anatomy, that you can kind of go ape shit, like you say, you put fucking holes in people.
Yeah. Still enjoy that part. But, I was even thinking that, I think I'm doing all these trap pieces and all these bits and pieces because it does like form to those parts of the body like pretty easily. People get down to, they'll go get their major spots filled, go get the outside of the bicep and the lower arms and this and that. All of a sudden you end up with, like gaps you got to like fill in between, or the trap parts always seem to be left after you've done 2 arms and a whole chest. And so, I'm always pretty happy to I feel like Mr. Squiggle. Did you guys get Mr. Squiggle in America?
No.
Well, that sounds familiar.
It was like this little puppet dude with like a pencil on his nose, and like I think it was.
Nope. I was thinking of like a little green cute guy that dances around on stage or something, but no, that's not it.
No, that's not him. I don't know if it was Australian or English or what the fuck it was, but it was like kids used to send in like drawings, and they'd bring up this like carded paper where they'd have like random shapes on there, and this Mr. Squiggle and this other dude Blackboard would draw in between them. So that's a little Australian thing. I always say, like, a Mr. Squiggle, I just join the shit that you've already got on there and make it look cool in between.
Is there a particular part of the body that is more challenging for working in like the bioorganic shit?
It's probably one of those things where like the best places to put something is probably the hardest place to tattoo. So it's like it's always cool doing parts where, like joining jaw gaps to necks and around ears. I love tattooing around in ears and shit. That's cool as fuck because they already look bio. And then like armpits, backs and knees. Like knees are cool, but they're, you know yourself how fucking hard those areas are to tattoo. So it kind of, the drawing of them, it's like, right, here we go. And then I start tattooing. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing?
But, so you think the bigger, more open areas are more challenging than filling in the gaps?
No, I wouldn't say more challenging, but it's like the little areas, because you confine to the space, and like I've got these trap on in my head because I've just done them too, but you've only really got a few lines to follow on there. So like your collarbone, like the major like tendons joining from shoulder. I think a lot of anatomy. So okay. I think it's kind of easier to join those little things. When you got this big area, you've really got to make a feature. So that's when you're deciding something is going to be, the big spikes or the big holes or something like that. And then you're joining everything from there. And then I would use the anatomy from there to blend it all in. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's harder either way. It's just more of what I do seems to be the weird areas. So I'm quite used to that shit now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a super interesting art form. I like it because it's non-narrative. There's, there's nothing to be, there's no story behind it, but it's super fucking interesting.
It's purely aesthetic and shapes and flow and all that kind of stuff. I mean, to me, it's really a lot of what we're trying to learn in this tattoo journey, just put into that without needing that narrative, It's like, everyone's doing it anyway. They're just a lot of the time putting, an object or something in the middle to be a feature. This is really just featureless.
Yeah, you can tell like when you do something illustrative or you do portraiture or something like that, or especially like that seal that you did, that freehand seal, you can tell how much like that knowledge base you have about anatomy, how much it helps you with the composition and being able to place things properly in the body, even if you are doing a picture of something and it's not just an abstract organic piece.
Exactly, and that could be something I pulled from watching someone else in the shop like lay out something Japanese, just for instant shape of that flow, or how I'd want something to like spiral or work out from a got dogs going through here. In that same pattern that would use, of any kind of like background flow. Japanese is what I find very interesting as far as connecting panels, and especially
Japanese pretty popular over there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have like we call like Aussie-ental, and what's the other one? So like 90s stuff was massively Japanese in Australia. You had like your typical sort of, I don't know, I'd find it pretty Australian tattoos. Like this 90s went through this ghoulish sort of like fantasy album cover, Manowar style, fucking everything little and detailed and fucking all this sort of shit.
Over here, it was
all color bomb.
It was like graffiti style, just.
Yeah, we had our new school for a bit, but I mean, all the original dudes getting tattooed, but like a bit older crew. So you were that sort of style, or there was a few sort of like trad dudes going around and that, but they were like 50, 60-year-old dudes in the 90s already that had their like blurry as fuck pieces on their forearms and yeah, it was either those or you had Oriental. So it was Aussie-ental is huge over here. Still is. We have some awesome Japanese tattooists.
Yeah, I started doing out these Japanese and geometric things, Geonese.
Geonese, there you go.
So I started with a lot of like geometric shit inside because I would want to do more Japanese style shit, but there's a lot of people over here who just aren't familiar with the imagery.
Yeah,
and so the imagery doesn't speak to them. They want to get the basic koi fish and shit like that. Yeah. And I want to do crazy snakes and dragons and shit like that, but there's a lot of people who just kind of aren't kind of up on it, but a lot of people like the geometric stuff, and I had a blast in Lubbock banging out 2 geometric Japanese mashup pieces.
Yeah, sick, man. Yeah, that's cool. I'm starting to see more of a knowledge trend within the Japanese stuff in Australia. I think maybe if it's like started a little bit earlier here, I wonder if that's just because we're like closer to some of like the Asian.
I think
a lot of people get tattooed in Thailand and like go to Japan and stuff like that, but really, like in Melbourne, I know dudes Geordie Cole and Trev McStay and Evan Griffith and who else was like rocking the hell good Japanese. Like they were some of the early crew and still own shops now in Melbourne that are producing apprentices and tattooists that are doing sick Japanese work still. So I think maybe there's just like a bit of a Japanese culture here early on that's persisted.
Well, and then Blake is fucking.
Oh, Yaki. Yeah, these are the new guys that are sort of like, learnt from those guys and now starting to break some of the rules. It's cool as fuck.
Yeah, I think my biggest complaint is that we, over here, we actually did make all the koi fish look like dicks.
Yeah.
They actually.
Yeah. It's pretty impossible not to. Like,
no, I mean, it's pretty good. They look like dicks.
No, that's what Aussies did as well. Everyone's got the typical dick koi like thing, the half sleeve. It was just a fucking picture going around that someone was like. There actually was a dude, Sydney, up in Sydney somewhere. There was like drawing koi flash sheets that pretty much, wanted them to do. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things that I've noticed over the last just 2 years mainly is that people are starting to move out of the small tattoo movement and get into bigger tattoos. It's a lot easier to talk people into getting much larger pieces.
Yeah, I think so.
I think early 2000s people would get a lot of little tattoos, and then of course they'd hit you up and try, hey, I want to fill this whole thing in. Now I want to do the background. Here to say, what kind of background you do with 20 small tattoos?
Stars and dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, they got 10 different styles on the arm, and you're just like, how the fuck do I connect all this shit?
Exactly right.
And so, I've definitely noticed now that people are a lot more receptive to the idea of just getting big tattoos, and it makes it so much easier.
Do you find those people now that are like ready to go get those bigger tattoos are wanting to be collectors and like, I want you to fill this really big space and then I'm going to go get all made down here? Or do you find that people are just like committing to, I want you to do this big area and then we're probably just going to keep going and like do this bit and this bit and this bit?
It's a mix. I would say it's a pretty even mix. I like to tell people to go get tattooed by other people. I mean, myself as an artist, I don't want my whole body done by just one person. I mean, that wouldn't be any fun. That'd be just fill my house with the same wallpaper.
It's a bit boring.
Analogy. I like that.
It's, so, I mean, they'll come, they'll be like, I think the big part is just trust issues. I think once a person gets a bad tattoo, it deters them from getting a tattoo for some people for quite a long time until they get a good tattoo, and then that whole addiction thing just comes back, and they're like, oh, I fucking love tattoos, you know. So, and I think once they find that artist they like, I think it's hard for them to break out of their comfort zone and go to somebody else just to figure get a bad tattoo. But
I've definitely had a fair few clients like that, but I'm pretty similar to you in that way that I'm like, no, go get tattooed by heaps of other people then. Especially like that I've been in good shops now for like, you know, the last few years. It's quite easy to be like, these guys like, you know, I want something Japanese, and like I don't really touch that stuff anymore because I don't practice it. So I'm like, you know, look, got this sick dude here, and now I've got quite a few clients that we share around the shop, and it's all good, man. It's fucking awesome to see people get just a collection of good tattoos from a heap of different people. And that's what I want in my body too. So
exactly, yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make you do my nostril. I'm gonna get some crazy alien horror shit coming out my face. I want to look like there's big spiders coming out my nose.
I can do that shit, like a mustache. Just like nice two-let tangent, like Zoidberg.
Yeah, that's all I need. If you can maybe black out my lips and make it look like my face is sunk in.
Oh, that's fucking. I'm glad you said that, because I was just talking to Dead Cherub earlier today, and he sent me a photo of his lip all like black, bottom lip black with some nice smudges going out from the side. He's like, you want to? No, he wants me to tattoo it. He's like, keen to do this. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, why not? Right.
And there's that. From there, we're doing his. Like, because I've already done those two big pieces on his cheeks and his forehead, so we're gonna like join up in through here. So we're gonna do some gills.
Oh no, I've seen it. No, I follow Dead Cherub. Yeah, he did that cool ass Zelda piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He's a mad gamer, that boy. He's very dedicated to his gamer tattoos. Yeah, kills it.
Speaking of alien shit, Dave tells me that you're an alien theorist.
No. Ancient history.
Ancient history, whatever, same shit.
I can pretty much lump it all into one. I love ancient, aliens, history, the whole shit. It's all good.
Me too.
Yeah. Yep. Guilty.
I love that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, how can you not? Life's boring if you didn't imagine all that shit existed.
Absolutely. I actually did. I pursued the Christian religious thing.
Yeah, I was brought up Catholic, so I spent my time.
You know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I mean, it wasn't bad. I always hit like this wall, and I was like, you know, I'd only get so far, and then I'd hit a wall, and I was just like, man, you know, something just doesn't. It just feels off.
Was this young?
Yeah, and you know, I'd hit a wall, and I'd just be like, you know, I felt like I was letting everybody down because, you know, I just wasn't maybe.
You didn't get it. You're like,
I would always hit a wall.
I'm not as invested as these people. I don't get it.
What is this wall? I don't know how to get past it. And then, you know, it's weird. One day I woke up and I realized, I don't believe it.
Jesus, that's what you mean.
Yeah, and once I said that to myself and accepted it, man, everything was just super nice after that. I was totally comfortable.
Absolutely, life goes on.
My friends,
yeah, that's a silly fucking thing, though. I mean, like, people can believe some crazy shit and still hang out with each other.
Oh, yeah.
God forbid you step on somebody's toes when it comes to religion. And they're just like, no. I was like,
yeah. Imagine in their brains us talking about like believing in aliens.
Topic in anywhere, I think.
Yeah.
Well, because people I think they know now that they're wrong because of science.
They know now. It's just this pride thing. They're just like, we're not giving up this shit yet.
Really, really, really hard denial.
Yep.
I think it's definitely much harder here in the South, though.
Oh yeah. Well, just coming into this part, I mean, Texas is already the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
You know, but you go out west, it's pretty liberal in El Paso. You know, very, very kind of open. I mean, it does have a heavy Catholic influence, but fuck, man, you start coming through Central Texas and you see all the anti-abortion signs and you know. God, all the fucking Jesus God is watching you. Don't masturbate.
2 years ago,
I remember thinking that when I was little, like just being brought up, like God's watching you. I'm like, what? In the shower and all that kind of shit. Like when you're little, you believe that crap. He's everywhere.
Does he have a lot of followers?
It's like he's omnipresent, dude.
He has all the followers. He is Facebook.
Right. That's what it is.
Yeah, everyone's just joining.
I was doing a guest spot right on the border of Missouri when that Jefferson shooting happened. I don't know if you heard about it over there.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, no, that went global as fuck, that one.
Oh yeah,
Pretty much all the shootings. We get all there.
So I got to see my first, well, hopefully last, but I got to see my first live KKK rally.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That shit still exists.
Yeah, I said all morning long I had an appointment pretty early that day, and I seen people driving around with these big white flags with black X's on them, and I was like, what the fuck is that flag? And I'm sitting there looking at it, I was like, I must be missing something, And then my second client shows up that day, and he's like, oh man, did you hear about the rally? And I was like, the what? And he's like, the rally. He said, you noticed all the flags today? And I was like, yeah, what are those? He's like, that's a KKK.
Not quite your peace rally.
I was like, what? I was like, no way those guys are still around. And he's like, oh no, they're having a rally right now in the middle of town. And I was like,
were they wearing hoods and shit?
I was like, can we go? He's like, yeah, you want to ride? And I was like, I really want to see this. It's probably my only chance in my whole lifetime to see something like this.
I think so, yeah.
And I went out there, and that's what it was. It was a bunch of people still wearing the costumes. They had a grandmaster out there wearing his big red costume. A couple little kids out there that says God hates fags.
It's just so funny, man. It's like, you're such badass, hateful people, right? You hate all of these races, but you gotta wear a costume.
Oh, yeah.
Wear a costume.
God forbid you're racist in public.
Exactly.
Don't want anyone to know that.
Wells Fargo.
Yeah. Oh man, that's my little league coach.
Right.
Like, no wonder he doesn't play any black teams.
I was just super shocked to see. I didn't even realize that shit still happened down here.
Well, funny thing, like, I don't know, man. Like, there's certain areas of the country where I would expect it to be, but you keep hearing about the KKK members or alt-right or neo-Nazis coming out in these big cities, and I was like, how do you live in a metroplex surrounded by a bunch of people, and then you can still say, oh, well, these people are lesser, they're lesser beings than me. And I'm just like, dude, you fucking wipe your ass just like they do.
Oh, yeah. We breathe, we shit, we die, and then somebody else takes our place.
Yeah. And we turn into worm dirt.
Right?
Well, we're just about to go through, I don't know if you guys see over there about like our gay marriage, like plebiscite shit. Do you guys see any of that stuff?
What, gay marriage, what?
They're just trying to work out whether gay marriage is going to go through in Australia. And like the politicians.
Is it not allowed in Australia?
No. They're fucking like way behind on that shit. And they've been like arguing about it for fucking ages. So like all the politicians.
It was more liberal than we were over here.
They are. They're a nanny state.
Yeah, there's just something about this issue that they're trying to like waste a shit ton of money, and like they're making everyone have a postal vote on it because the politicians don't want to like pretty much decide. So it's called a plebiscite. Basically, we all have to like postal vote if you're registered to vote in like elections and shit like that. Yeah, it's fucking crock of shit. So we got all these like dipshit homophobes now going around. It's all right to vote no, and it's just a waste of time. Like no one here really gives a fuck.
Who really gives a fuck now?
No, exactly right. Everyone here like would support gay marriage, so I don't really think that's why it's a waste of time. It's just a waste of money doing this crap. They just make the country look like idiots. But if you're not seeing it, it's obviously not that global.
Well, I mean, yeah, I haven't seen too much about it.
I neither.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a crazy thing for me anyways. It's like, how do you hate somebody for the way you love? If you're not gay, how does gay marriage affect you?
Exactly. If anyone's stupid enough to get married, that's their choice.
Yeah, if you guys want to fucking get married and be miserable.
Exactly. Welcome to the real world. They might not be walking around talking all happy and that, like, once they're all out to get married.
I mean, fuck that, dude. Gay dudes, they usually take two good-looking men off the market and leave women for assholes like me.
Tell you, I tattooed in Fort Lauderdale for a little while, and it was probably my favorite place to tattoo, and it's because it was a really large gay community in Fort Lauderdale, and they would come in the shop. They would always want big tattoos.
Yeah.
They weren't super specific. They're just like, hey, I love Polynesian. I'd like to have my whole leg done Polynesian. They never asked how much it cost, and they how long it was going to take. Oh, they tipped fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And they would come in and they would say, no, I don't care what it costs. I just want a good tattoo.
Yeah.
I don't care what it costs. I want a good tattoo. And consistently, that's what the population was like. And I fucking love them.
but that's what like tattooing females a lot of the times, like they sit better because I think they realize that their tattoo is part of their aesthetic because they're more conscious of that than men a lot of the times. And I think gay dudes are on the same tip where they're like, hey, this is kind of a fashion statement for them, so it's got to be super nice.
It's got to look nice. Yeah.
You do what you do.
Yeah, in fact, I don't know that I've seen too many gay people walk around with shitty tattoos.
Well, I mean, you know, they got good pain tolerance. I'm not tough enough to suck a dick and like it.
It had to go there eventually.
That's just because you're a pessimist, though.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's fixing their mustaches and beards.
And it's a little sweeper. The dick broom.
See if I can still smell my girl in there. The thing about growing a beard is because that was
the flavor saver.
You wake up in the morning and you're walking around and you're like, oh, that's
the fuck is that?
Maybe your girl. Mine didn't smell like that.
Soup strainer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nice. I like flip it up. Oh.
I'm glad that it went here, Jason. I'm glad that you made it even more blue than it normally is.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Oh man.
How
those morning coffees treating you?
I finished mine. They're good. I don't know why I'm so addicted to these things. They're so fucking bad for you. But I really like this one flavor, and I've been getting it for like 3 years straight.
You can't drink coffee unless it's just plain black coffee. I don't drink anything in my coffee. I don't need it. Like,
I used to drink mocha because I don't really like coffee, so I just put chocolate in that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I always get a white mocha with cinnamon.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Yeah, it's pretty fancy.
It's that white girl drink.
You know what's funny though is I was standing in line like a month ago, and there was this huge burly guy standing right in front of me, and he like walks up the counter and he's like, "I just need a black coffee." No
coffee.
Yeah. I was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna look like a super big pussy now."
Like, can you put some foam and some sprinkles on that for me, sir?
So I walked up to the counter and I was like, "I'll also have a black coffee."
With some white marker and a couple of sugars.
Right. I was like, "Hey, but when you announce it, can you say black coffee?"
I want to feel like I'm cool.
Right, yeah. I just don't want to look like a big pussy in front of this guy.
That happened when I got to Austin and I like went out in the morning and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to get a like iced coffee because it was hot as fuck. And literally they gave me like iced, like brewed coffee with a couple of ice cubes in it with no sugar and no like cream or milk or nothing. And I had to do the same, sit out the front, look like a man and drink at least half of it with my cigarette. Then I ran.
Well, especially being tall and head shaved and tattooed like you are, it would look
just with a frap with a big thing of fucking sprinkles and
right. Now I know why it's so protein marriage. You know?
Yeah, that's why they put it in that cup so you can't see what's in there.
Right.
They put it in a glass for me.
For a while. I was getting like extra shots of espresso put in my black coffee.
No, I still do that.
Yeah, but it just got to the point where I get jittery. And now I can drink a cup of coffee and I'll be fine to tattoo all day.
It's the reason I don't, man. I can sit there and drink like an energy drink and I'm pretty sweet, but it's the caffeine in a coffee fucks me up. It affects me more than weed does. I couldn't do it. It makes me shaky and shit.
It's more easily absorbed into the body than like artificial caffeine that they put in energy drinks and shit like that, apparently.
Yeah, I had a look. It's like 6 times more or something for a coffee than an energy drink. It's just the amount of sugar in energy drinks. It's a lot different.
Yeah.
So I don't touch that shit anymore, which was a good thing to learn because I used to same deal. I was just get to work, try wake up, go with the boys to go get a coffee. And that was years I was doing that and feeling shit trying to do my job. And now I've learned just to avoid it.
Oh, maybe that's why the first 10 lines I do on a tattoo in the morning are bad.
All really good. And then the rest are like, no.
The last 20 are good to go. Right. It's just those first 10.
Yeah. Now, sometimes I start real good and then you just start to speed up.
I'm doing so I do notice that I'll drink that coffee and probably around 2, 3 o'clock, I'll just really want to take a small nap.
Yeah, I feel that come down for sure. And I don't know, usually if I'm doing a really engaging tattoo, I don't really feel it as much. But if I'm doing something that I'm super fucking into, I feel especially when I first was tattooing, I would almost fall asleep filling in black tribal.
What about eating halfway through the day through a tattoo? Does that shit fuck you up? Where you like go the coffee over like having a meal?
Honestly, I have a bad habit about just eating breakfast and then fucking forgetting to eat the whole day until nighttime.
Yeah, so.
Especially shows. I have the worst habit about that. I'll eat in the morning and then it'll be 12 o'clock at night. I'm just like, fuck, I haven't eaten in a long time.
You just told yourself all day, like, I'm not eating this shitty chips and whatever the same crap they always have at expos.
I won't say the name of the show. This last show we went to was
fuck that show.
Ridiculous. So let me tell you this. Okay, so a lot of shows, they don't really care when you start. You can come at 9 o'clock in the morning and start working on somebody. As long as that person buys a wristband at some point in time of the day, who really gives a shit? As long as you're getting your $10 entrance fee. So my client comes in 15 minutes early, okay, and I'm putting a stencil on him so that we can get a good start because it's going to take me a little while. The guy running the show takes him out because he's in there 15 minutes pre-open. I'm like, what? Is this guy being fucking serious? He was like, nah, bro, he can't be in here. He needs to get out of here. It's not 12 o'clock.
There are other people already tattooing.
I was like, are you fuck? I was like, who the fuck cares what time it is?
Well, then he kicked me out the night before.
Oh, yeah. Dave, so Dave started this pretty rad little piece with this guy's arm. And, Dave took the show last minute, because I wanted to hang out. And, he didn't have many appointments. And then this kid came up and wanted to come on a little cool little piece. And so he asked the guy running the show, he's basically just like, this is going to take me a little while. How long can I stay? And I guess they agreed to 11:30, probably, a good time. And then so Dave starts the tattoo thinking that he's got, ample enough time to finish his tattoo. And then the guy comes by, same guy comes by at 10:18 and says, bro, we're close. You got to get out of here.
Just insane. Like, the show was so making for the promoter, it was totally obvious. He didn't once go around and announce that people were free or people had time to tattoo. All he was talking about is, we got this for sale, and we got this for sale.
Helicopter rides. We got helicopter rides for $35. $35.
They did have $35 helicopter rides that we didn't take advantage of.
Yes. And he has a helicopter. I think he said that one.
Oh, well,
I'll have a helicopter too.
Fuck that guy, dude. Yeah, and then, oh man, and we try not to get too butthurt about the judging and all that shit, because it's always depending on the show and who the judges are. It's kind of a crapshoot, but fuck, man.
Sometimes you get lucky, you get proper artist judging. Sometimes you just get people picked out of the crowd.
Yeah, this show was.
Actually, I think that's exactly what it was. People picked out of the crowd.
Speaking of all this, I seen that one of you posted that someone won an award for one of your tattoos.
This is great. Oh man! So Jason did this tattoo that he won best of day.
No, he was there. He was there.
I was there. That's it. I helped judge it. That's why when I saw it.
Speaking of people pulled out of the crowd.
Yeah. So you
exactly.
This kid in Brazil fucking does this tattoo, wins 2 awards and like artist of the show or something for that, and posts it up online. Jason starts giving him shit, and of course I gotta have Jason's back, so I start translating all of this terrible shit into Portuguese so I can fucking get this kid out. And we're going back and forth for about 2 hours that morning. He's like, well, I'm not a thief. If he didn't want anybody to do it, he wouldn't have put it on social media. They made screenshot for a reason. And I was like, this motherfucker right here, he doesn't even realize that he's doing something fucked up. Yeah. And like an exact copy of it, and then fucked up the face to where she looks like she has Downs now, and just like totally fucked the whole tattoo. And I'm like, man, and I feel bad for Jason because he was like, man, he's not religious, but the trophies were kind of cool.
Yeah.
That he won.
I did go round and round with the kid, because he actually changed his Instagram 4 times that day. Of course, he's a dumbass. He just changed it to. He just basically was like his name, and then he changed it to his name with number 1, and then his name with the number 2, and then his name with the number 3, and then finally number 4.
And then had like every in Texas that we hang out with just bitching him out.
Everybody was blasted. So, but here's the thing is that I didn't give a shit that he use whatever design you want as a reference. We all borrow something, and then we make it our own. And I don't see anything wrong with that, but don't trace the entire design.
That's just bad form.
Don't say fake or say, hey, original artwork done by whatever. I try to explain to him. He sent me a message and he said, he said that I was being selfish and hypocritical, that he's not a thief.
Well, they obviously have no fucking idea what they're talking about to start with, but I find it fucking hilarious that it actually wins something. Like, normally you'd see it on a bail page. It's just like...
It was the amateur tattoo contest for people that had to be tattooing 2 years or less.
2 years or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, that changes a little bit. But
that makes sense.
Still. Yeah. Anyway, I left it as it was because I've seen enough people ripping shreds. I always do. I'm like, oh, there's enough internet trolls out there that are gonna it'll stop this guy doing that sort of shit.
I've noticed it happening a lot. That's definitely. There was a guy about a month, 2 months ago that did it from India. Same thing. Yeah. I just did the tattoo at a show, and literally 3 days later he did the tattoo, and I was like, God, give me a chance to breathe. You know,
let it settle.
And I was just like, man, I was like, you guys, I was like, I don't understand. And you know, I don't want to say countries like that, but it just, I guess maybe just certain caliber of artists or people with certain mentality, like, do they not hit that place where they're just like,
I want to make my own shit.
I want to make my own stuff.
Well, but it happens here. I mean, there was that kid who tried to get, tried to get featured on the Texas Ink magazine thing, who sent Raphael a copy of the tattoo that I did.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's
and like an exact copy of the Zeus tattoo. And it was, it was done okay, but it's like same composition, same pillars, put everything in the same place. And then Raph texted back the picture of mine. He's like, sorry, bro. It's like, I don't think this is going to work out for you.
You think if somebody was trying to be on a team, you think that they would research the artist on the team and make sure it wasn't one of those tattoos that he was sending back in?
I think they're like, I think like without going into even just like, it doesn't matter countries to country, because there is definitely like areas of the world where it's like different etiquette and different like, social ideas of what's acceptable, as far as like, some people just find it flattery to copy someone's shit and show them. And we've found that like through Thailand, like that's our closest in Australia, that like they're literally proud to show off that they've, copied someone's tattoo as good as someone in America or Australia or something like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I've had my tattoos ripped a few times, but not to the point where they're winning awards and shit like that. That's why I find that one pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a little different, I guess. No, but there's a certain level of flattery, but there's also a certain level of like where I feel bad for my client.
Yeah, that's the shit part.
Exactly. Because they pay for something original and to see their idea, brought to life on the skin, and then somebody else turn around and just took the exact same thing. And so and that's what I tried to explain to the kid, after we had a heated conversation. I tried to explain to him in that aspect that, one day he's going to move past doing this stuff and he's going to want to actually be an artist. And I said, you're going to work hours on some design and you're going to feel really good about it. And you're going to tattoo it, and then, somebody's going to come along, and you're going to take those hours of hard work, and you're just going to put it on somebody else. And I was like, and when that happens, you'll understand, you just be like, oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah, this world does suck a little bit. I draw so much shit, and then I go, I could just easily just put that on my Instagram and blah, blah, blah. But you worry, you're like, someone's going to tattue that before I do. And people are going to stop sharing as much if that sort of shit happens, which that's what sucks.
Together up on the internet.
I don't put drawings up on Instagram or such a social media period anymore.
I would a lot more if I thought it was OG, but.
Yeah, I did that too. But here's the thing: is that you have artists that are actually tattooers. I won't say artists. The tattooers, they're actually dumb enough to print an angled shot on.
Yeah, that's true.
And stencil it.
That's true.
And put it on people. Like,
yeah. So it's funny, that I laugh at. Like, have fun.
I use this as a reference, but I've seen this a girl come in once, and she brought in a printed picture of a tattoo that was on another person's forearm. And so when you take a face and you tattoo it on somebody's forearm, obviously because of the curvature and stuff, the perspective changes a whole lot. The sides fall off, the front pushes forward. So this guy takes that picture, makes a copy of it, makes a stencil from it, and then puts it on her forearm as well. So it's just like double. And when I walked in there and I seen this, and it was just like one large nose in the middle of a and the two smallest roses I had ever seen. And it was just like, and so I was actually training this girl. That was pretty much the only person I've trained, but I trained this girl, and I think people with no common sense, they piss me off. It really gets.
I don't have any patience for
it.
it.
I really don't have. And so I ran to her and I said, I need to ask you a quick question. Let's say if you take a flat image and you put it on a curved surface, what happens? She's like, it changes the perspective. It becomes distorted. I said, okay, now you take that and make a flat image of that and put it on a curved surface. She's like, well, it's really fucked up. And I was like, okay, cool. That's all I wanted to check.
As long as everyone's on the same page and we know what's about to go down. Yeah.
Yep. Right.
Yeah. Did it stop it or did it happen?
So how long ago did it happen?
No. Did the tattoo happen?
Oh, no, the tattoo happened. Oh,
no,
it was bad.
It was already happening.
No, I walked in the middle of the tattoo.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The girl's forearm. You know which picture I'm talking about. It's that real iconic one. It's the face with the two roses over the eyes. I don't remember who it was. Like maybe a Mike DeVries painting or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So it was a printed picture of the bad. It was a copy of that tattoo, but it wasn't the original person. And then it was on a forearm. They printed that off and then made a copy of that and then tattooed on this girl's forearm. So when I walked in, the roses were like this big. And the nose was like this big, right in the middle of the forearm. It's crazy.
It's so interesting that like a lot of people don't get the concept of like, you know, you can bring in a tattoo and say, hey, I like something like this. Can you put something together? But it kind of defeats the whole fucking purpose of getting tattooed if you're just like, I want a copy of this. You know, I get the Pinterest tattoos and the stupid little birds and feathers that I won't fucking do anymore. Like, I get people wanting to get those tattoos over and over and they bring in a picture of that. But if you have a custom piece and you bring it to somebody and you're like, look, I want this. Why? I just don't understand.
Because you're always going to have two kinds of artists in the industry. You're going to have the ones that are in it for the artwork and the ones that are for the money.
And then you throw in there that there's like a whole heap of different clients that, you know, some fixate on seeing a tattoo that someone else has done and they've looked at it for 2 years and they have to have that. And then some people are a lot more open to, you know, they just want to be tattooed, but, you know, accepting the art in it. Sometimes it's really hard with clients trying to work out why they're getting tattooed. And sometimes it really doesn't matter, but it can, you know, it makes you jump harder.
Yeah, but I think part of our job should be education, especially for giving them information about how to approach collecting tattoos and what's the best etiquette for doing, you know, getting what they want out of a tattoo. But yeah, then again, you've got that separation between like people who are in it for the tattoos and in it for their career and people who are just in it for money. They're just going to do whatever the fuck they want just to get paid. So
yeah, exactly.
It's an unfortunate thing, but you know, luckily, I think we're in a bit of a renaissance in tattooing. Like I wouldn't want to be tattooing at any other time now. Like
I think it's the best time to be tattooing. I'm actually kind of envious of you growing up, you know, in someplace other than the U.S. I feel like it's been a lot harder for us to break past because there's a lot of barriers and regulations that were established on tattooing in the beginning here. As opposed to overseas, you know, Europe.
But that could just be American ignorance because I don't even know.
No, I think
that's pretty spot on. It was harder for us to get the access to like the knowledge at the start of it, but then once it started flourishing, then the industry was smaller, so it was kind of a little bit easier to get around the good shit.
Well, it's a lot more friendly with each other, right? You guys, you know, most of the guys over there.
I think that just comes with being a smaller community, you know, like a couple of dudes throw a couple of dudes, and then that just gets a little bit easier. And but we're pretty lucky that the guys in our industry at this time, and even in the few years before us that have helped it like go along, all have been good guys. So yeah, we're pretty lucky that way. I mean, it was Mick Squires and who was like Mick Squires was literally one of the first ones that went over and met Jeff Gogway and who else, like Booth, and just like a heap of the you know, like our sort of original masters, and and brought it back to Australia. So yeah,
I mean, it's interesting looking at the differences in culture because you guys only have like what 28 million people in Australia or something.
Yeah, something like that. Less, about that.
Opposed to 350 million.
Exactly right. So you're just like fighting for the title is so much fucking harder when there's that many people around.
It's been hard to do.
No, I don't. I think, like I said, I got into tattooing mainly because of looking at European and just different styles of art. I actually was never a big fan of American style tattooing.
Besides the realism sort of stuff,
I first started tattooing from seeing what's it bad with names, Boko and the Buena Vista tattoo over in Germany.
All the trash polka sort of
I
stuff.
always did weird stuff as a kid. Like I was always big into drawing weird stuff, and I hated the idea of there being borders and boundaries. You know that you were.
But do you remember Bugs, like French Bugs from Evil from the Needle? Do you remember him?
Is it?
Bugs was his name. He's a French.
Bugs artwork. Yeah, he does all the cubism now.
Yeah, man. I remember seeing all that sort of shit coming from Europe. Like, because I was the same. I was heavily influenced by all the European. I always have been. Like, all their art's been amazing and shit. So I got tattooed from Camille when I was like 18, and that started my whole I love all the painterly European style back then. And they really brought something different to the game. It was sick, and still do, man. The Europeans have still got their own flair.
I mean, look at what they're doing in Poland right now with fucking Dimitri, man.
Yeah, exactly. Russia, man. There's some crazy shit coming out of there.
I think if you look at the history of American art, of course, obviously it's a short history, but if you look at our history of art over here versus, European style art and stuff, ours has always been really structured compared to everybody else who does very loose, just kind of.
It's because there's less cultural barriers
here,
whereas overseas you've got different cultures stacked up next to each other. You're going to get different
influences. There's a lot of overflow.
Exactly, you're going to get different transitions from different parts of the country or of the different parts of the EU and stuff like that. Like if you go up to the Netherlands, there's some of the best Euro-Japanese shit comes out of the Netherlands. And it's fucking amazing.
I think because Europe has that age, like you were saying, because it is young, I think it's had this sped up version in America of you probably already art was being refined by the time the country was being settled. So then from there it goes through its own paces of different styles of art, but probably bypass that looseness stage that some of Europe went through. And then certain countries always try to really stick to some of their roots. So I find it sticks a bit more in some of their art. So Australia is exactly the same. We don't have that style of painting or art in our history. Not in we don't have that whole history. No, we're pretty much the same age as you guys. So same deal.
Oh.
Yeah, they're.
So do you guys see? Is there like a set line drawn between traditional artists and realism painting style artists in Australia too, or?
In tattooing or in art?
No, in tattooing.
Yeah. So I mean, you got all your new school realism artists, and then your more old school would be the Japanese artists and the Australiana and different sort of stuff like that. Yeah.
Trad stuff.
Yeah, trad and neo-trad. Yeah, but I mean, even the neo-trad here is now all heading towards realism. A lot of realism artists are either heading to going from realism to trad, or just heavily trained in some kind of artistic background.
I'm in the process of doing that now. So
yeah. What kind of art have you done outside of tattooing?
Me?
Yeah.
I actually did graffiti when I was a kid.
Yeah, sick.
And I always like that. I figured buildings were there for a reason. You just have
make them look pretty.
Big blank clear. You got to put something on it. And then I've done a little painting. I was actually good at it. I did two, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just felt the need to paint, so I bought some brushes and acrylic paint, and it actually I came out looking really good. I was shocked for never taking painting, but man, I was growing up. I was always more into big pens. I think it's because we were dirt poor.
Yeah.
And so it was hard to get a pencil and a pencil sharpener because you'd have to keep buying pencils.
Yep.
But you could draw with it until it just runs out. And so I would draw on cardboard boxes and my white T-shirts and pants and all kinds of shit. And,
how crazy! Some of the best stuff you've ever done has probably been in a blue biro pen. I've gone through and seen some of my high school drawings and shit. That's all you had, so make do.
I would say that was probably most of what I did was big pen drawing.
A lot of drawing and sketching with big pens.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't start oil painting or doing any kind of real fine art until, I guess I did watercolor stuff because I was doing a lot of Japanese stuff when I was early in my career. But I started painting after taking a seminar in 2010, and then I really got into oil painting and decided to go back to school for a little while and learn a little bit more about it. changed my fucking life, not just tattooing, but changed the way I look at the world. And, you know, you see brushstrokes everywhere after that point. You start recognizing those simple shapes everywhere you look. And that really changed a lot of my tattooing. But it's funny, I'm going through a transition now to where I was doing just a ton of realism, probably for like the past 6 months. And I got to the point where I was like, and maybe I would feel more like a tattooer if I ran some line work. And so I started trying to figure out how to run some cool line work and get back into some Japanese stuff, and then mixing those two styles of realism and hard line work and line weight together. And I like the look of it. It's different. You know, we have, like, that's one of the things I think is different about the tattoo culture in the States too, is that we drew out these arbitrary lines of rules that you're not supposed to do, and you didn't see a lot of that in Europe. You know, to where, you know, we've got people who, you know, oh, that's not the way you fucking tattoo, kind of shit.
No, that's what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about earlier. Is that I'm glad to be tattooing in this era as opposed to 10 years ago. You know, I can imagine what that would be like with all the scrutiny and everything coming down on artists like, you know, do basically do realism or abstract or anything like that.
We dealt with a little bit of that early on when we first started doing shows together, of people looking at your tattoos and being like, well, it looks cool, but I don't know what it is.
Oh, no, the thing they were telling me is when it went out to get judged was they were like, oh, I really like that design, but it's probably not going to stick. And I'm like,
they're always like, yeah, that shit will never hold up. And you're like, fuck off.
Shut the fuck up.
I was like, how the fuck would you know if it's going to stick or not? I was like, complaints about it. I absolutely hate that we have that rule that it was that 30% I hate the fact that they take black and blend it out and then blend color right over the top of black. I hate that, because it might look cool the first couple of years, but 10 years down the road, that color, it always turns to mud. You cannot put over gray wash, and it's not going to happen. And you know, of course, I respect that style of tattooing. You know, it's that style, and I don't usually be wrong with it. But you know, when I first started tattooing, I knew that I had to use so much black and blend it out and then blend a color over it. You know, I'm thinking, well, wouldn't that make the color not that color? You know, and so I actually learned how to color blend by making a mistake. I color. I started tattooing this guy, so it was my first big mistake on a tattoo. And I started doing a guy not really knowing the colors of the rebel flag. And I started coloring the red blue by accident. And, luckily, I started in a dip. And I started coloring it
in one of the folds of the
flag. So my friend comes by, and you know, obviously, he looks at me and shakes his head no, and he Googles rebel flag on his phone and he shows it to me, and I'm looking, I'm thinking, fuck. He doesn't know. So I'm thinking, what can I do here? You know, what can I do to fix this? You know, because you know, I don't want to look like an idiot. And so I dipped my blue in my red and started tattooing, trying to like blend it out. I didn't know, you know, I just dipped it in there. And when I did, I transitioned from blue to red. And I thought, wait a second, maybe if I just use all these medium blues and all the folds of the flag and blend them out to red, maybe it will look right. And then I'll just use a lighter blue where the blue of the flag is. Where the star, you know, and then when I got done, it just looked like the flag was darker right there and blended out, you know, and it looked like it was actually a shadow. And I was like,
you learned something.
I learned something.
Like you talk about color blends, like we tried something new yesterday when we were working on both of those realistic tattoos. We just we took Booney's or Steve Butcher's little where we, you know, use nothing but small round shaders and mags. He was doing a whole portrait, and I was doing some crazy parrot fucking piece, and I
see that. I knew you were.
All right, let's fucking do this shit.
Yeah. I knew it when I seen those parrots. I was like, yeah, you've been watching Butcher. You got those little rounds down. That was sick, bro. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, Nugent actually knocked out this super cool Hulk piece, and it was a cover-up. You can't even tell it's a cover-up, but with all those greens trying to do a cover-up and shit like that, but he was using all those tons of texture. The mouth is super nice, and just one more pass with the lighter greens after it settles out, because it's a cover-up, but you still can't tell even now. I was like, all right, yeah, it's going to work out really good. I think it was a lot to do with a new technique right off the bat. Like
I'm on the fence. I'm undecided if I like it or not like it. So
it's always hard to try something new. Yep.
Yeah, it's just I'm so used to using big mags, and I even looked at I think our max size is 27. For cartridge.
Yeah,
27 for cartridge.
27.
And I've been talking to some companies trying to get them to make it 35. I'm like, is there not a way that we can just make it? Why is 27 the cap?
I don't know. What's the metrics need? How big do they get?
At the moment, like on his website on the market is like 17, but I've used 21s, 23s, 27s of his, but I think 27 was the biggest his went as well. I think it's just something to do with like the slot size that they can make in all the like factories. It's pretty much all from a China. And then, and it's also like, I think just the sheer size of it to like work on either the O-ring or elastic band system or the, what do you call it? The membrane. It's just a lot of needles and a lot of shit to work. So maybe it's just more that, but I've never seen one.
Yeah,
maybe you should just get some big ass disposable tubes, some of those split tubes.
That's what I'm thinking.
Black claw.
Yeah, that's what they don't make anything that big, do they?
I don't know. We'll have to check.
Yeah. 39s. So you should be. Well, back in the day, it was. Yeah, you guys ever seen that shit? 39s.
Oh yeah. The biggest one I used was a 43.
44. Yeah.
45.
43 is it? Yeah.
No, I did it. It was a guy's back piece, and it was just really large, light gray areas.
Yeah.
He didn't have great skin. He kind of had a little bit loose skin, and using a smaller mag to blend out those big areas and keep them consistent was going to be a pain in the ass. So I tried it out, pulled out this. I guess it was a 45, and
45
man,
is it?
I really liked it.
I haven't seen one for years.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I remember like whipping them out with like the coil machines. That's fucking hilarious.
Exactly.
Oh no, it was a coil machine. It was definitely cool.
Well, because you see that shit. I mean, that's intimidating for a client to see that motherfucker, that big ass shovel tip come out. He's got an inch and a half shovel, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Needles don't hurt though.
No, I know they don't.
Needles don't hurt.
They don't know that though. Yeah, fuck.
It's terrifying.
That's true. On your stuff, you mostly use probably a 7 and a 15 mag. You don't really go above that too much, huh? You use a lot smaller mags.
Yeah, I've kind of I've gone all over the years. So like when I first started, like big mags only, it was like 15s, and then I discovered that there was 21s, 23s, all that sort of shit, and then 30 stuff. So I went up and up and up. Then I kind of went back down and settled at the 15, 17s for years now. But I always had a 7 mag, so I was always like 7 mags for heaps of shit, and then sort of 15 or 17 for a lot of stuff, and then liners. And I never use round shaders. Now I go like 11 mag would be my most common size needle, and then I'll have a 17 there, which I'll use quite a bit. Every now and then, if it's real big stuff, I'll have one of those like 20 somethings there just for all my edges, just the big blend out parts of my bio, and just big smooth gray washes over the top of stuff for like tonal contrast stuff. But I do use, and then the 7 mag I've ditched a fair bit now because of the round shader. So I'd say it's like round shader, 11 mag, 17. This is my general.
Using like a 7 round or a 9 round shader?
Round shader, I was using 9s for a bit, but I found like those 2 extra needles are just like too much. So I'll go, like if I ever use a 9, it's a bug pin 9 round shader, but I'll go the normal 12 gauge 7 round shader for most shit. And then I'll go down of that 5 round shaders. So 5 and 7 round shaders are my most commonly used ones. Yeah, the 9s I really liked back in the day when I was using.
Like using curved or
flat? Pretty much all flat except for up to this. When I get to the 17, I'll go curved. So anything up above a 17, I'll go curved.
That's something that I was talking to Ty Harris, a guy who a lot of black and gray portraits and animals and stuff over here, and I was watching him do a portrait at a show. Super nice guy, and he was like, I was talking to him to tell him I want to transition over and start doing black and gray.
Yeah.
But it's obviously very different than color. It's a lot of technique. And he was telling me that he really preferred flat mags. Over curves for black and gray. And of course, the color would be opposite. You would not use a flat mag for color. That would be horrible.
No, I think because you go on like less passes with the black and gray. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
it's just I think the depth, just that whole depth, you're just kind of scratching the surface.
It's the angle of attack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's angle of attack, like.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's like because I don't know that much color, but whenever I do, I find myself doing more passes, and I'm kind of like, when I'm like trying to get the color in there itself, those edges become a hindrance and like will give me sort of like more packed spots than not. But with the black and gray, I'm like concentrating more on my shape of that thing. So like you're saying, like more skimming in the shape and like using those edges to define the shape. And then from there, you can kind of like stain or tint for more like tonal contrast if you need to. But yeah, I just find you like going for a different thing. So I use the edges a lot. And then if I'm like,
when using those flat mattes,
what's that?
When using those flat mattes on black and gray, maybe because of the difference in technique, you don't find that those edges leave a more saturated area than the middle of the needle, or is it just because of the way that you're approaching the skin?
I think it's the application that you don't, because like I definitely find I can get those edges in there if I'm like not aware of, the angle of the skin, just going over that sort of like section of the skin that's like got an arch or a dip in it, then obviously they're going to get in the way and shit. So I think it is just more, I'll, circle in some stuff if I have to. Yeah. I'd say it's more the application.
Right. Because at least that's what I've noticed. But I also know that like I have a couple flat mags that I keep, especially when I'm going to do fur, because running those back and forth, exactly what they tell you you're not supposed to do, running it on the edge, all
exactly,
back and forth, great for fucking doing fur. Like you get like Benny just put up that tattoo of that fucking wolf, dude.
Yeah.
The one with the glowing eyes, and I was looking at that, and I was like, man, that's some nice fucking mag work right there to get all that fur nice and fluffy, and then you have some super saturated areas and that nice texture. I was like, that's good shit.
I remember when I first put a bug pin massive mag in a coil, and I was like chopped a little bit on the side, and I was like, whoa, that's fur. I was like, everyone was like, don't do that. You'll put holes in it. Like, nah, fuck that. I just did fur. I'm doing it.
I'll break all the rules now.
You guys limited on ink companies over there? That's what I heard. I heard that. Well, at least mostly Europe. You guys are
Europe.
Yeah. Well, you guys got
back in the day, definitely. Back in the day, we only had like National Pigments, which was like 3 dudes making stuff in like big sheds. But that was like 90s, and then we started getting, I think, like a Japanese company. Well, we've always had Kurosumi Black. Well, not always. That probably came in later. But we definitely struggled for years. We had like a couple of American companies. Starbright were one of the first to send to us. But now access to everything. Obviously, the internet gives everyone everything.
That was too, right? That was one of his first things.
Starbright?
Yeah.
Yeah, he sold that one off and then went out and did Fusion and then split off. Or no, Eternal, and then split off and made Fusion.
Yeah.
But like, one of the interesting things about like, I guess a lot of the American ink companies, I've looked at them because is Intense based here in the States?
I thought Intense was,
think so.
I see him representing so many European artists now that I don't know if maybe they pulled up and started marketing towards Europe first because maybe it was easier, or not easier, but there was less companies to compete with in that market.
Well, because a lot of their colors are not as crazy bright and vibrant and like extra saturated as
No, I don't think so. I think that they're definitely a little bit thinner than some of the other.
But I like some of their colors, and you see some of the ink companies now, like Fusion came out with that muted set, which is really nice to put next to some of the brighter colors to kind of push and pull that contrast. But a lot of these hyper realism guys are using Intense because they've got more natural tones in there.
Right.
But I'm always interested. Although I did see that Dimitri Simohin piece, and I think he's using that as well. And I mean, some of the colors are super bright, and this tattoo was probably like 6 or 7 months old, and his whole arm looked fake. It just looked fake. It looked like a rubber arm.
Yeah,
it was so saturated.
I'm pretty pumped about Fusion's new set of ink coming out, the highlighter marker set.
Oh yeah, it's like super bright.
Right?
What the fuck, the neon set?
They basically they showed me a picture at a show, and they have a picture of all these highlighter markers, and then they just basically match the color with the markers across the bottom. And then I got to see this test piece, leg sleeve that this guy did, and it was so bright. I was like, oh my God, it's crazy. So, I mean, I don't know that I'm not really into like, super bright style like that, but at the same time, I'd like to have colors to throw in, as accent colors and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, why not if they're there? Give it a crack.
Exactly, right? Yeah, just throw them in there.
Did you see they found that new blue a while ago? I posted that up on my shit. I was like, they need to call that Insamnia blue. I don't know. They discovered they were burning stuff in a chemical lab somewhere and accidentally discovered a new type of blue.
Oh, no.
No, and I have not seen it being turned into a tattoo ink yet. So I'm like, that has to happen.
Is it a nice blue?
Yeah. What was that?
Is it a nice blue?
Yeah, it's fucking rad. It's like it's hard to explain because it's a new color, but it's like deep, like cobalty kind of blue, but then it's brighter. You got to Google this shit once you get off here. Yeah, but fuck knows if it's still on there. I go through in there and clean that shit up to make it look nice every now and then.
I've been doing that lately too. How far back do you think it was?
It'll be a while ago, 6 months or more. You're probably easy to Google search new blue.
New blue color.
New blue.
No, what I'd like to see is them put that Fanta Black or whatever the fuck it is into an ink. It's like the darkest material that humans have ever made. Like it literally looks like a hole when they coated this card with it and they held it up and it just looks like a hole through this.
That's
like
awesome.
they throw the holes on the wall and then they walk through them. And I'm like, they need to put that in fucking tattoo ink, man.
That's gonna be some heavy shit for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's fucking hectic shit.
Yeah, with that dark crystal piece that you're doing, what inks are you using for that?
I've been using Starbright. Benny and a few of the boys in there originally had a Starbright sponsorship, so we had a set in there, and I've used them for a little while, and I don't mind. Like, it's Starbright. Is it Starbright 2 or is it Starbright 1? Which one's the more legit one these days? Is it still just the original Starbright, or does Starbright 2 take over?
No. Adam sold the company. I actually didn't even realize that they were still making Starbright ink until they were just at a show, not this last weekend, but weekend before. One of the distributors was at the show, and I didn't realize that they were still making Starbright ink. So
they seem a lot different than the ones I used back in the day, but they're actually they're quite nice to use. But before that, I was using Fusion, and before that, I was using Eternal and Intense, a bit of a mixture of both.
Yeah, I think right now I'm using mostly Fusion, but then, I mean, I'll throw World Famous in there. I've tried some of their stuff, and I really liked it. And then there's a couple. Eternal has a new black that I kind of like. It's
I like that.
Thin but dark.
I like that black a lot, actually.
See, to me, being a color artist, it's not really about being with one company of ink. Like when I used to do color, it's like it's all about finding the colors you like in all these different sets and what works for you. And yeah, exactly.
As long as they play well with each other, like that's the thing. Like I got Cheyenne sent me a set of their new inks when they were trying to come out with ink, and I started using them for a little while, but they don't play really well with other ink companies for some reason. The blends don't really work out as well as
they just won't mix nice in the pot sort of thing, or just don't heal as nice as they look.
They separate really easily. The carrier inside them is something different than I think the glycerin that's in a lot of the other inks, and so when they come together and you start trying to blend or you try
they're
to
not binding.
They're not binding.
Not at all.
And so there was that issue. Oh, for everybody who's listening, once we get our SoundCloud shit straight, look up Fanta Black, Banta Black on Google Images. It's crazy. Look at that shit.
Oh my God, it does look like a fucking hole.
Crazy.
Did you find the new blue?
It's like, did you find the new blue?
I did find the new blue. I did find the new blue.
What's it called?
Do you like it? Is it a nice blue?
Yeah, that's what we're called, Insamnia blue.
Insamnia blue, yeah. Not that I do any color.
It's a very strong blue.
It is.
It almost has like a reflective appearance.
It looks like like a cobalt blue.
Yeah, that's what
paint pigment, like oil paints, like the shit that will kill you.
So they have they have the number beside it, but it doesn't actually.
It's nameless still, yeah.
I don't see. It's still. I'll tell you what it's called. It's called YLN 0.9MN 0.103.
That looks
I know it does. It does. It's so black that it looks like somebody just blacked out that piece.
I'll see if I can't do a screen share. We always have fucking problems with this shit.
It's what season 1's all about.
Right?
That's right.
Us just trying to work all this shit out.
Yeah.
The screen share.
But yeah, it's so strange. It almost feels like you're playing a trick on yourself when you look at this stuff. And a customer actually told me about it. He's like, "You ever seen this?" I was like, "Man, they need to put that in fucking tattooing somehow."
What black do you like to use? Which one do you found that you feel like kills the best?
Black, you said?
Black, yeah.
Yeah, dynamic black is what I've been rocking the most lately. I've been sent samples lately from a few different black companies, and one that I have used a bit more than others is that Killer Silver from Caesar the Hun. I remember he's been tattooing for quite a while, and
we have it over here too. I haven't used it yet, but
well, because they had two different ones, so I was a bit interested. They had like a triple black and a normal, and I thought maybe going, because I've been doing so much of the blackout cover up stuff, I thought maybe like playing with some triple blacks would be cool. But it's, like triple blacks always just been too hard to fucking tattoo with, man. It's
too thick, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's someone explained it to me as well. It's even the grind, I think, is different when they're talking about tribal blacks and whatever. It's not so much of a so you've got chemical grinds, pharmaceutical grinds, cosmetic grinds, and all different sorts. And even though it's like a certain pigment, the way you grind it can depend on how black it ends up looking. And I think it actually is like bigger pigment or something like that. So it does make it a lot fucking harder to use. And someone also, and then I think this was Aaron at the shop, Aaron Lyons, was saying that by using it with any grey wash, if you have even some of the tiniest specks of that, it'll get stuck to some of the like grey wash like residual bits and pieces, and you'll end up with little black dots in some of your work. So I've not personally, because there's a lot of black and gray, but I have seen some pieces where it looks little dots in the in parts of the black and gray, and I thought maybe it was just dried ink on top or something, but it could be a bit of both. But yeah, it is possible that something like that could happen. So I can't be fucked using any of the triple black anymore. Dynamic, man, it's literally I can get that to like hell smooth silvery grey wash, and covering up some pretty crazy shit too.
You just mix your own down, right? The dynamic, you just mix, because they don't make any kind of wash set or anything like that.
No, I just like 4 caps, and just mix it down. And I've played with like different solutions like to mix it down with, but to be honest, I've just used water whenever I've been. It's just as good.
I tried that thing. I met some guys in California.
Witch hazel, way back in the day. I haven't touched it for years. I don't even mind just like a fucking couple of drops of like Dettol, and someone showed me Listerine years ago too for that bit of alcohol, a bit more binding. I don't mind that.
Yeah, that's what the witch hazel. It has a small amount of alcohol, but since it's in astringent too, it also I can't get this thing to work. It also it stops a lot of the redness coming through, so I can see my value tones a little bit better.
Yep.
But it's all the same bullshit, really.
What do you find better? I see two dominant styles being done in black and gray. One, obviously, they go really dark, predicting how it's going to look when it heals up, and then the other style going, pretty light, knowing that they're going to come back and do a second pass. I guess in the result, it's probably all the same, but I think for especially for picture purpose, obviously going really dark is always going to give you a super shitty picture, whereas going really light is going to give you basically a real good picture. But I guess
you got to stick to the 20% rule. Really, you got to realize that everything's going to
light. No, I think it's more than that. Isn't it? It's like 40% that black and gray lightens, isn't it? At least
it's almost becoming a style now, though, to like go beyond all those things. And like, you're the guy that does the ultra fucking black stuff. Like we've had that over here. You go up to certain dudes for if you want the really black or if you want the high contrast. And some people like, only want light sort of stuff. So I think now it's almost like beyond those rules. Like people are just trying shit out and seeing what works. I because I seem to be doing so much like continual, ongoing, bigger stuff. I love being able to do those 2 passes and really being able to like nail how much black that piece needs. So I've learned from not mistakes, but just like trying out stuff of how much black can a piece handle, and you could definitely go too far. So
I think finding a good balance. Like one of my favorite black and gray artists is Chris Showstopper, man. Like his stuff. He's got super, super saturated areas and really nice, light, delicate areas. And he always has a His composition's always on point as well.
But I have to look him up. I don't know that I've ever seen him.
Oh, dude, he's a fucking
man, beautiful
too. He tattooed really quickly, right?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, but a lot of his stuff is super dynamic. It's got a lot of contrast, but he knows where to put in the blacks. But Benny too. Benny's
him and Benny are definitely like up there for that sort of like they're two of Australia's best for that point exactly. Like the composition and the knowledge of how much tonal stuff it needs, but even just like texture, like textural contrasts between it, like those big smooth areas versus like, you know, fur versus feathers versus texture versus, you know, all that sort of shit. They nail that too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I see what you're talking about. And he's got some really well. Actually, that one's kind of cool because he uses looks like he uses a little bit of an opaque gray in part of it. And yeah, but I see what you're talking about.
I thought that was what you were going to ask me about at the very start. The like opaque versus the versus just like gray wash and stuff like that.
Honest opinion, I feel like that. I feel like that opaque holds up better. I feel like that if you, well, I don't know. It depends. Like I see some people use opaque and they water it down. So now over here, I don't know if it's reached over there yet or not, but we actually have an opaque wash set.
I have seen it. I've never really seen it used though.
Yeah, they gave me a set at the Dallas show. Actually, they gave me a set to try out. I haven't really got to experiment with it too much.
To me, it doesn't make much sense. It's like you either pack that opaque light color, and then, like you said, it's definitely going to hold up like the test of time.
Well, apparently there's apparently there's a couple of black and gray artists that are using David Vega uses it, you know, and I guess they're mixing it in with their wash as they're going.
Yeah.
And in that way, it just already looks smooth and pretty much healed when they get done.
Yeah, and like Quinn was talking about like really, really small areas. Like if he's working on a small area where he needs to go from black to like a mid-tone and a light, but it's in a really narrow band of skin, he'll use those opaques so that he doesn't have to worry about like a transition or that bleeding into the skin tone to where he can set up, actually have saturation in the skin to where that ink won't move around as it heals. Which kind of makes sense. I don't know. I've used it. I messed around with it a couple times, and sometimes I'll put it out and I won't even touch it for the tattoo, and sometimes I'll go in there and just use it a little bit here and there. I don't know. I like black and gray, and I with negative skin and these skin breaks because I think it fits and works and lives on the skin a little bit better. It just looks more natural. Like
I would say natural. I think so. Like because of the fact that you have the natural skin tones in there already when you go over when you leave them in there.
Yeah, it's transparent. Yeah.
More like stickers.
Yeah,
I think. I don't know. I really like the way the opaques heal up. So far, at least. I really like, especially doing faces and stuff, because that's commonly what I use. I pretty much use an opaque set.
Yeah.
I have a Fusion opaque set and a world famous opaque set, and I just go by skin type. You know, like I'll look at their skin and I'll be like their complexion, and I'll be like, well, this is the one we need to use. And I don't know. They seem like, especially for me, because I like to throw color in there, just maybe an accented color. I feel like the opaque traps that color in there maybe a little bit better.
Definitely, it looks better too. I think. Yeah. Yeah, I love the look of those like saturated opaque faces you do, like, and then if you put that highlight of color against a black and gray, like gray wash one, it doesn't have anywhere near the same effect. Like not having those.
Well, it definitely looks more like a sticker versus where with the black and gray, you definitely have a more natural, kind of look to it.
And it's finding that balance of taste on, because like a lot of the grays, the opaques have a slight cool tint to them.
Yep.
They're cool side to where they actually look like.
Well, actually that's why I have both sets. The World Famous has a very cool tint to it. Very, very cool. And so like what I like to use it if I'm going to play a warm color with it. I really like to use the World Famous because then they'll stay work against the artwork with each other and it looks really nice. Now Fusions is actually fairly different. Theirs is no cool in it whatsoever. It is
pretty neutral.
Flat. Yeah, it's like flat gray. So if I'm going to use like a lot of white in the tattoo and no color, I really like the Fusion set because, or maybe it's like a blue, because in the blue against the flat gray looks really good.
Hell popping, yeah.
And this is the most technical fucking podcast we've done so far.
I was only thinking that in my head a second ago.
The coffee is what did it.
The coffee helps. No, it's talking about like color is a little bit more high tech when it comes to all that kind of shit. You know, we can talk needles, we can talk machines, all that sort of shit. But because I don't do as much of that color, like I love hearing this because I'm getting a lot from just, you know, all this as well. So
but you're a painter, Sam. You understand color theory. You understand.
Absolutely, but not applying it as much. I don't absorb it as much, you know. I spend more time worrying about other things. So it's kind of like a load off my brain being like, nah, you know, I don't fuck with that as much. I'll do my color pieces here and there and I'll use my color knowledge, but I'll always absorb more, you know, like when I can. So
so that's me. I love black and gray. I just, you know, I love color, but I think doing color, I wouldn't say like long time, but doing, 99% of what I do is color.
Yeah.
So,
there's also,
and I do a
with
couple
those opaque faces, there's a patience to it that's, that I'm always really jealous of. I think you have to have so much more patience to really pack those faces or anything you're doing with, opaque whites or any pastels.
No, I'm super fast.
Not this guy.
Hey, you're pissing yourself off and you're like, the hell no.
I did this really rad piece and it was funny. Okay, so I'm kind of a dick in the tattoo industry. I'm not. I mean, I have rules and I you know, people expect me to abide by things and I expect my clients to abide by stuff. So when I set an appointment for somebody, when they set it, they actually picked the time and I came in about 45 minutes early for a show to set up and get prepared and everything. And they're supposed to be there at 10 a.m. And we did show at 10 a.m. and I didn't hear anything from them. And I kept checking my email and social media and no messages from them or anything. And then 11 o'clock rolls by and I still haven't heard anything from them. And you know, at a show, you have to assume that once an hour passes,
it's tough. Yeah.
So they weren't, you know, the piece I was going to do wasn't going to look bad, but it wasn't something that I was crazy interested in because it wasn't something, you know, that would be original, you know, something more along my lines. And so I actually designed a couple of things the day before at the show, and this girl walked up and seen them, and she really liked them. So she came by that day while I was waiting for them to show, and she said, hey, is there any chance that you would have time today to do one of those pieces you were designing? And I said, well, actually, I was like, I have some people that are supposed to be here now and they're not. I said, if I could do what I want on you, I was like, absolutely, I'd be down to schedule it. And she was like, I don't care. I liked all the pieces you designed. And so those people didn't show. And so I actually finished setting up, put the stencil on her, and then they showed up about probably about 20 minutes after our, and the woman was super upset about it. She started crying and she said, well, I don't understand. And I was like, listen, I mean, I waited for an hour and a half and I didn't get any message or anything. And that's just, you know, I was like, an hour, I feel like it's a fair amount of time to wait. You know, I was like, obviously I didn't have your contact info. I made sure to give you guys a card, you know, and in fact, they were even supposed to email me the reference pics and they never did, but I just designed it anyways. Yeah. And so for me, you know, after an hour at a show, you know, if it was my shop, it probably would have been a little bit different. I would have a little bit more leeway. Yeah. But at a show, you're very limited on the time that you have. So I, you know, I waited the hour, and then I started working on the girl's stuff, and she showed up, and so she started crying, and her husband comes over there, and he's like, "What's the problem?" And she goes, "Well, he can't do my tattoo." And he was like, "What do you mean you can't do it?" And I said, "Well, I scheduled somebody else. You guys had an appointment an hour and a half ago, and you didn't show." And he was like, "So you can't do her tattoo?" And I was like, "Well, no." I was like, "You guys had an appointment an hour and a half ago, so now I'm tattooing somebody else." And so he was like, you know, well, what about the deposit we paid? I was like, "Well, the deposit is to hold the slot at 10 a.m. that you guys picked, and you're supposed to be here." I said, "I normally don't give deposits back if you don't show up when you're supposed to get tattooed." I was like, "But I will give you half your deposit back." You know, I was like, because you guys did show, but you're just shooting.
Just late as fuck, exactly.
And he was super pissed. He was just like, that's fucking bullshit. You know, but he took half his money and walked off, and then he went and got bad tattoos somewhere else. But so the girl actually sat really well for it, and I went from the top of her shoulder to past her elbow. It took me about 5.5 hours and just covered the whole thing in. And but wound up winning the show with it. And I was super pumped to do it, man. I really like the piece, and I'm excited to do more like it. So
it's insane watching him tattoo, man. He tattoos technical shit very precisely, extremely quickly. It's discouraging to a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, I got to bypass you watching you tattoo for a little bit, but I didn't get to see you like pump out shit while I was tattooing as well.
Well, okay, so you know that piece that you judged, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I colored that whole thing in right over 3 hours. That
Fuck you.
long.
That's what I'm talking about,
I'm
Sam.
kidding.
I was thinking like 7.
No, because he took the guy that did the line work and stuff. He actually took longer than he was thinking. He was so nervous, but he took longer, and he was like, "Bro, I'm so sorry. And I was like, "Okay, so I've got a good 3 hours to color this whole thing in." I was like, "I can do this." I was kind of nervous too.
Yeah.
I did take a break. I actually did take one break. I was like, I'm gonna have to take a break. But I just 3 hours, man, and it was all colored in. So I don't know. For me, colors, at least packing color in and blending it, it's always been. I just knew how to do it.
Yeah, just second nature. Yeah.
You know, now I had to study color theory and stuff like that to understand what colors you can't use in a tattoo,
But I think also like it helped me out, like watching him tattoo color, because I've done color for years and years and years, but looking at the level of saturation that he was getting, I was like, what is he fucking doing? And what it is you know, you got the flat angle of skin. Instead of being more upright, he's
I laid that bitch
like
like
more than 45 degrees.
It's like
and he's
this.
packing
I
like
just-
this.
Like,
And
I
it just
just
goes
skin like
the
this.
fuck in, man.
Yeah, I don't make circles. I like
Just goes back and
shoveling.
forth.
I just like shoveling and maybe like long narrow ovals or something. But you know, what it was to me is because I used Big Pen. That's what made sense. Okay, so I used Big Pen my whole time when I was drawing. So when I started apprenticing, they told me small circles, small circles. So I'm sitting here thinking, whenever I used to color shit in with Big Pen, I never made circles. I was like, that's
Dumb.
So what I did was when I started tattooing, they would come up and be like, well, that's wrong. You know, you got to make small circles. But then when I would get done, they're like, well, actually, it doesn't look too bad. So I was like, well, let me explain it like this. I was like, take a piece of paper and draw two little squares the same size on that piece of paper. Then take a Big Pen and color one square completely in, doing small circles. And then color the other square in, shoveling back and forth. And then hold that up to a light and see which one is more saturated and evenly colored. And it's going to be the shovel method. You know, the circle is always going to leave spots that are more saturated and spots that are less saturated. So I just to me, it never made sense. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it that way.
Yeah, because I started changing all that stuff, and like that's why like the koi fish and the snake were so saturated, because I'm just laying that fucking
because that's what they were like, no, you want it like a 45, and I was saying, no, I'm gonna lay that bitch over as flat as I can get it.
I mean, that's between color and black and gray is a lot of black and gray.
And that's what I'm really wanting to do black and gray, and so of course watching you was a big inspiration. Your shit's super dope. It's watching people like you and just seeing, you know, like I'm definitely understanding that there is a completely different approach to color versus black and gray, and I think that's why you have very few people that do both really well, and of course the people that are really good at black and gray are like so far ahead. You know, and then of course the people that are good at color are so far in this direction. I think it's just because it's a completely different approach to doing the tattoo. And so I'm having, you know, I think I need to just stop scheduling color pieces and schedule just black and gray. And I don't know, I'm kind of anal like that. Like I don't like the fact that I don't know how to do something. So I'm going to push myself until I figure it out. So I'm going to figure the black and gray thing out.
I'm exactly the same watching you guys and wanting to do the color and shit like that. That's why I keep throwing a few pieces in there every now and then. I hate not knowing how to do something, or like, seeing someone else do it and be like, I can fucking do that.
That's how I felt about line work, man. I was like doing so much realistic shit with no line work in it, and I was like, man, people think that I probably can't do fucking line work.
You know, you're exactly right. I apprenticed with this guy, and it's like a hate-love thing. I'm pretty sure he's half autistic, but he's not like the autistic enough to where you're like, oh, I feel sorry for him, or he's a genius.
You're not getting away with it, is it?
Where he's just really fucking annoying. At the same time, you know, you kind of like him. So you know, he doesn't really do great tattoos, you know, but he works super hard, and I appreciate that. He tries really, really hard, and he doesn't give up no matter what he's done, and I definitely respect that. So he comes up to me one day and he says, you know, because you do realism means you can't do good line work. And I was like,
You what?
It put a chip on my shoulder.
It did me too. It really got to me. So from then on, that's when I started adding like geometric and trying to do mandalas and shit like that. Because I was like, fuck you, I'm gonna do tattoos with all line work.
Yeah, that's why like when I was doing those tattoos last weekend, I was like, hey, you know what, motherfuckers, I'm gonna show you some of the cleanest shit you've ever
line work,
seen.
and it looked good. Yeah, super small geometric stuff, but the line work looked really good. So.
Yeah, and I mean with that kind of stuff, it puts another tool in my toolbox, and you know that's why I want to start mixing the realism.
Hey, ask Dave how sore he was to spend all day. No. Ask Dave how sore he was to spend all day working on his first Geomise piece.
Was that hot shit?
And to lose against a big black square on a guy's ribs.
So for real?
Oh my. Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, so if somebody came and told you, hey, I'm going to spend 5 hours with another artist working back and forth to do an entire rib piece,
armpit to hip,
in black and gray and color. Your first thought is, how good can that possibly look?
And then the color part is galaxies in space, and the black and gray part is a realistic astronaut suit with a chimpanzee inside of it. How good do you think that's going to look after 5.5 hours?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
I worked for like 11 hours, no, 9.5 hours on Saturday to do this koi piece where the waves are full of galaxies. It has like a fading geometric pattern. Everything is solid. It looks like a fucking
sticker. Solid. It was really solid.
You know, clean as I possibly could make it. And he goes up against this guy who on Sunday, they barely make it into the contest because they only took 5.5 hours to do this rib. And it literally from across the room looked like a big black rectangle on his rib.
So it's a good concept, and neither one of the guys are really bad artists. But it's just I think that tattoo was just poorly planned, and I think you know I think just the whole 5.5 hours. Dave does black and gray. I do color. And I can't comprehend doing a piece like that in 5.5 hours and it looking even remotely good.
We won't throw these guys under the bus, but I'm gonna send you the pictures on Instagram.
I don't know if you're impressed by the fact that the guy sat through the whole thing, you know, and it covered such a big area, or what. I really wasn't. To me, honestly, I would much rather see a small, technically sound good tattoo than anything big, but just done bad. I mean, you know, even with the idea that you could go back into a big tattoo and make it possibly look awesome, if I'm judging, I want to see a super, you know, I'd rather see a smaller tattoo just done.
Right.
You know, I actually got to judge that show on Saturday, and it was fun, aside from the fact that it took 3.5 hours to judge, but it was still fun.
That's sick. I got him.
Did you get the picture?
I got some. The speedy interwebs. How good is that?
Yeah, gotta love it.
Right?
Yeah. So what's your guys' plans for today?
I have just one small tattoo that I'm going to do and then work on some sketches for tomorrow. And I'm just going to give Dave free reign of the shop while he works on doing adding some more to his last parrot piece. So,
yeah, that guy's coming in from Austin because he went down to Colleen yesterday, and then he's coming up here this evening to finish up that parrot on the top of the show.
Nice.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's all that's going on.
What kind of sketching you got done for tomorrow?
I'm going to do a neo-traditional owl, probably. So,
how do you do most of your sketches these days? All iPad sort of stuff or actual sketching?
Yeah, yes and no. Like, you know, I love the iPad. I absolutely love it. I cringed when I paid the $13.50 for it, but I was like, you know, since then, if it ever broke, I would run out and buy a new one immediately. But at the same time, man, there's just something about actually holding a pencil in your hand and actually sketching on a surface that I don't know. It's hard to mimic that feeling. And
you need to try and
yeah,
draw
you
on
said
like
yeah,
that
yeah, you said that they make a layer or whatever that goes.
It's
on
a
top.
matte. It's just
like
a matte screen protector that has tooth to it, so that the pencil actually feels
Well,
like it's
it's
rubbing
like
against
I bet
pencil.
Sam, I'm sure you Sharpie the skin, and so and of course with your style of tattooing, it only makes sense you would have to do it. At least you're gonna get the best results that way. So I'm sure that if you going from Sharpie to skin, and if you were to try to draw that object on a piece of paper, it probably drives you nuts, huh? You're probably just like, oh, this isn't cool. I'd rather just Sharpie it on the skin.
It always ends up totally different. I try and imagine these things and like designs that I want to do, and then yeah, exactly. I have this like flat surface, and I'm trying to imagine like folds of skin and how I do it, and like yeah, it is actually getting quite difficult now because I'm every day Sharpies on the skin. So now I'm trying to adapt to that. So I'm like taking photos of my Sharpie drawing on the skin, and then spending the first half an hour or something like that drawing over the top of that to confirm, that this is going to work or this is what I want.
All that
sort of shit.
Too.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll like Sharpie on the skin, then I'll take a photo through Procreate, and then, depending on how I've Sharpied on the skin, sometimes because I'll literally just like draw a negative version of what I'm going to do, or like, it's positive. So I'll be like drawing my layers, but eventually they're going to become the skin. So I've actually gone now and just negative versions, or, like overlay and negative. So it just reverses. So I can see what it's going to look like with all my black spots filled, or I'll just sit there and actually draw straight over the top of it and put highlights in areas and shit like that. But
is there a program that they have out now, a photo mapping program or something, that you could integrate the picture into? Now I know that they have apps that
Photoshop will do it.
Huh?
Photoshop has like a 3D.
It's a 3D picture.
Yeah.
To basically rotate around their whole arm, and so that way when you're drawing it, you can rotate the picture and then draw.
Well, I'm not sure about like fully drawing on, but I know there was a thing in Photoshop where you can like apply an image you've already drawn and then mold to it. But yeah, well, who is that?
Bez 666.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He even like gave you the parts for it in the DVD. I bought that.
But no program where you could just rotate the camera around some. Like you say, you draw with a Sharpie, and then you take pictures, and you load it on your iPad, and you work from there. But no program where you can take your iPad and record, like basically, just record around the arm and then upload that, and then be able to rotate their arm on the actual app and just.
Nah, not so much. There's like digital sculpting programs where you could create that arm, and now there's like VR. There's VR programs now that are probably the closest to what you're talking about. So like Dominic Queck and a few other dudes that are like concept artists and like 3D sculptors and animators and shit like that now have like VR concept where you would be doing that pretty much those same actions, same things that you're talking about, like painting and drawing on 3D surfaces. But nothing just on an iPad that I've seen.
I mean, I think like what would be nice and a good tool to have would be, kind of like those pound of flesh hands, but an entire arm. Kind of like what.
They have that coming out. They have arms coming out.
Well, like what Jess is working on, but to have a female and a male arm so that you can like, because I use this clear stick film. It's shelf liner you buy it at Walmart, and it's just a clear vinyl that has a soft adhesive on the back for when I do tracings over tattoos that I'm going to do cover up, so I can get an exact size and stuff like that. But to be able to place that around an arm and trace your design off, and then you can peel it off and make it flat.
See, Chris just uses the saran wrap.
Yeah, no,
he does that shit all the time. He just throws saran wrap around the body part, traces over it, and then lays it out. I couldn't do it. But
I used to do all that kind of shit, tracing paper and fucking like drawing on with Sharpie, and then like you can get contact film that put over your books back in the day. Like
that's exactly what this is. Contact film where like you can draw on somebody with a Sharpie, stick this thing on there, and when you pull it off, the actual
the Sharpie comes with it
on the back of it. Contact paper. So it's not you're drawing on the plastic. You just draw on skin and then peel all that off.
Yeah, I did that way back in the day, and now I've just got that's pretty much why I just Sharpie it on there now and just try line from that. And I find now I have to do it in sessions if I'm doing really big shitters. Like it's a whole day of like building and designing this thing, and then just like getting it onto the skin, and then I'll have to literally like reshuffle my brain to start like mapping and like lighting and all that kind of shit, and I prefer doing that in different sessions now.
Yeah. So you just use mostly just Sharpies. You haven't used like any of the, what is it called, Gentium Violet, which is like what's in the surgical pens, because they sell that that just by itself, and I've watched guys like dip a paintbrush in there and draw on it so that it's like more, so it holds to the skin a little bit better.
Too hectic for me. I like to be able to get rid of the Sharpie. I used to try to get that shit to stick like pretty well, and I'm pretty good at working around where I need to stick and, you know, dabbing. And I used to even just straight out start with mags and shade in all my Sharpie and shit like that. Now I've got to the point where I kind of have more direction, more idea of where I'm going with pieces, so I can get down what I need, and then I want it gone pretty much. So yeah, I haven't really, like, those surgical ones and the stuff you're talking about, like, sticks way too much for me.
That's what I've noticed.
Yeah. It was cool watching Jesse and like a few other dudes using those. What are those? Tombos, the water-based ones. I've used them a few times.
Yeah. I think we took a picture of them or something.
Yeah, those things are good. Like the brush tip, but they're water-based. So I mean, they're gonna go real quick. That's like one wipe shit. But those dudes have got techniques where they're like doing that, and then different layers of different pens to get stuff to stick, and they're really cotton onto their freehand shit. But as it Levitt and Duffy, I think. Josh Duffy's using Tombos and Sharpies, and but I've just used Sharpies for so long now, and I used to love seeing like Tommy Lee Wedner's, all these like orange, you know, yellow, orange, red drawings, and there's been people over the years, Kinster, and even Hernandez and shit. So I think it just goes hand in hand with that. Doing freehand shit, you get used to working with that.
I use Sharpies, of course. They're cheap. I have used Copic markers on people. They're alcohol based, and they stick a little bit better than Sharpies, but it's not that big of a difference for the $7 price tag per marker.
Exactly. Yeah. Mayo uses a lot of Copics for his because obviously it works so well with all the like brushwork script stuff and all that sort of shit. And I was like, yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. When you come here, you're gonna get it.
Talk to you by who?
Mayonnaise.
Oh, Mystic, man! I really want to hit Mystic up and.
Yeah. Come to an Aussie script tour.
I just
have Sam do one of the sides of my head, let Dan finish up the other.
Nah, he's gonna
Fuck yeah.
We're gonna make my mouth a big black hole and the spiders coming out. Maybe just spider legs, you know, because he does those really long, creepy legs.
That's what I reckon. Spider legs is like a mustache.
Like, you know, just fuck up that pretty mug of yours, man.
I mean, I get shot. Yeah, I really want to black my eyes out. My girl, she's the only thing stopping me. I really want to do it though. I even had a guy that was gonna give me him and his girl both had their eyes done, and he was the guy. I mean, I don't know why, but he gave him basically a free set. I guess maybe buy something good.
2 for 1.
Use a third set. But he did a really good job. And I just, I really like to have my eyes blacked out. I don't know why.
Come see Luna Cobra, the man that created it.
Luna's the fucking man for all that scarification and the black eyes and all that stuff. Dude, the scarification shit that he does is so
He invented the tattooed eyes,
Yeah.
Was he the one who did it?
He's an Australian man.
Okay.
When we go over there, we should plan it out for next year if we can.
No, we're going. Yeah. That's what I mean. They've been looking at it, and the tickets are definitely affordable. That's what we're looking at is coming to Australia next year. And
hell yeah.
I'd like to spend at least a couple weeks there and try to get bit by radioactive spiders so that I can get superpowers.
I want to get a fight with Roger the kangaroo.
Yeah. Even I'm keen to go find Roger or something similar.
One of those big 7-foot dog people, dude. I didn't know they were that big. They're terrifying.
So man, that thing was so brutal. I was like, oh my god.
It seems like he would hate fuck you. He seems like a prison fucking
one
bully.
One of those that after he beat you down,
he's gonna
like,
fuck you.
I'm gonna stick this in your nose.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he was man.
Welcome to Australia.
Pretty to plan out the trip and come.
When's your next trip to the States?
Probably. Well, I was thinking around Feb. Everyone was telling me to come to the Philly and Philly and a few other shows around that time. So I was thinking maybe around then.
The Bill and Art show. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. But it'll be sometime early-ish next year.
I may do the Philly one. They've been trying to talk me into the Philly one for a while now. I haven't got to do. The only Bill and Arts I've done was the one in Houston. I like to.
Chicago. I think I'm going to do Chicago in March. Like once I.
Oh God, I would not want to be in Chicago in March.
Yeah. Man, I'm going to be in London in February.
Yeah, I'd still take London in February over Chicago in March.
Yeah, I think so. I've heard Chicago winters can be pretty fucked.
Don't bring any fucking shorts. Don't bring. He's like big jackets. He's like actually buy a couple coats and long johns and.
Well, Philly would be the exact same in Feb, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Almost same latitude.
Yeah.
So.
I'm kind of looking forward to that though, because we don't, I don't get snow where I am. It's cold and it rains, but not like that sort of shit. So it's kind of cool.
Have you done Philly before?
No. So like that.
Oh, you're gonna like it. It's big. It's a big show. Big show with a big turnout. The numbers. Oh, what was it saying? There was 20,000.
11,000 on Saturday, and then a mixture of like 5,000 or something like that.
I think it was 20 or 22,000 for the whole weekend.
Yeah, it was Friday and Saturday. It was like 5,000 or 6,000.
I heard it's a really nice show.
That's like our Sydney and Melbourne are like that. Sydney back in the day used to pull like 20 to 30,000 over the weekend, and I think it still pulls those numbers. And Melbourne, I think, is generally pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the trip, that was your first trip over here in the States, wasn't it?
First proper one, like tattooing and stuff. I've been through there, like traveling to Mexico and that sort of shit. But yeah, no, first one to really check it out and tattoo there as well.
Oh, the Dallas one, that was the first one?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I did Dallas, Austin, then went over to Duffy Shop, Peoria, and then Denver. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a few little states in there, and then I figure next time go do one coast, then I'll go do, Cali, Vegas, all that sort of that side. Another time. Yeah.
Yeah. I would skip Florida. I love Florida, but I would skip tattooing.
Tattooing wise, yeah. Now, man, I'll take my missus out to Disneyland, all that sort of bullshit one day.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just not the tattoo scene in Florida is just really it's just not the same. Like Texas has definitely got a lot better tattoo scene than Florida. And I tattooed Florida and I love Florida as a state. But just tattooing wise goes, it's just not.
Texas was good as far as like people wanting good tattoos. People are always there.
Yeah. And people not minding spending money on good tattoos.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's not Florida, believe it or not. Aside from Fort Lauderdale, where they were really big about getting good tattoos and not caring. Outside that, the whole Miami area, man, it was crazy. People would just come in there and just whittle you down little by little. It's like, it's $200. No, I've got $80. It's just, but we have some malls in Miami, and they're real infamous for just doing fast but crap work. But you get immediate results. You walk in, you spend $400 to get an entire sleeve done and walk out. Oh, God. So, and so a lot of people coming in and price shopping. With that being the target price, and I couldn't match it. I was turning down customers all the time because I was just saying, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
We get that a little bit going to New Zealand. It's like going to the conventions over there. It's so nice a place to go to and do the expos, but just with the economy and bits and pieces, it's always like hard to charge what we charge.
Yeah,
over
it's like
there.
a vacation.
Yeah, exactly. But you get people doing the same, just like
What do you got? What's the average hourly in Australia? It's like 150, 200?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Yeah. And probably closer to 200 because their dollars were
their dollars a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, especially US wise, closer to 200.
Yeah.
And then New Zealand, like our dollar is always it has always been a little bit better. So it's like sort of 80 cents to the dollar, and then they've got some pretty good big name artists now like Matt Jordan and Butcher, obviously, all those sort of dudes. So they've bought the market to New Zealand now, which is pretty cool. Like New Zealand's always been known for tattooing, which is the cool part. So like to go over to their expos, it's always got that bit of old school culture and shit to it. So
Maori shit.
Yeah, bro, it's sick.
Right? Swash
Drive is Australian. Swash Drive and Injector are both made in Australia.
No, it's Swash Drive. No, obviously Injector is big. Is Swash Drive big?
Swash Drive's always been like big competitor. And Injector's definitely. Well, I thought Injector would have like hit the international market bigger, but I've still heard a lot of people talking about Swash Drive overseas. So I think they're still a big competitor. They've always made good machines, man. They come out with one of the first good rotaries way back.
Honestly, like Injectors, especially over here, a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are using them now. I know I just push it just because people ask me what I use, and I'm like, I fucking love this machine, but it's so much personal preference. But there's not a lot of guys using like Gen 8s or Gen 6s.
Oh, actually, we had two carriers over here for Swash, and both of them have stopped carrying swash now. So now if we want to get it, we actually have to order it from Sony.
Yeah, okay. I think it's in the name, really they're both going for they're both rotaries, but they're two totally different type of rotaries. One's that swash motion, which they've been pursuing that for years and years, and then Injector are now going these pancake motors, brushless and all this different styles. So I think it really does just depend how you like to tattoo as to which one you would go for. But also the hype helps, right? If there's something that's just everyone wants an Injector, that sort of shit, then
Right.
It's gonna drive it towards that.
I mean, that's like FK. Like we were talking about FK. FK makes a machine for every taste, and everything,
much,
and they got the Ion coming out.
Yeah, coming out in October.
Yeah, Jason's getting one of those. He won one of those at the show.
Yeah, I won it at the show.
See, they were one of the ones that was pretty hard for us to get in Australia originally. So it was always heaps easier to get an Injector. FKs were always fucking expensive, or we'd have to get them off certain websites, and not many Australian people stocked them, shit like that. So I think that's why the Injector stuff obviously kicked on a lot earlier here. And then I think the drive of the awesome artists Mick Squires and Fabs and Ben Lucas and Tater and Butcher and all these sort of guys that have helped push that name has definitely helped Iron and Injector.
Yeah. I mean, I had the first Injector. Well, first I had the Flight V2, and I liked it. I didn't have any issues with it. But I also had the harder bar. But then eventually I switched over to the Hawk, and so the Injector would wind up getting sold to somebody else. And, so I bought the new one when it came out, but like I said, I didn't have those same bar. I didn't have the same bar. Yeah. And it was not. I mean, to me, it seemed like for black and gray, it'd probably be perfect for the bars that I had. But for color, it just wasn't. I couldn't get it to punch in there as nice as I like.
For black and gray work, I've messed around with all of the bars that Injector sent, with the machine, and still I end up just throwing that rigid bar back in. I don't like to give. I don't like anything to do with it.
I'm lazy, man. If I put something in there, I'll work out how to use it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna use the one thing that needs to stay in there, and then I don't have to fuck with it. I won't fuck with it, and I'll just use it. But I think Jason's got to start getting ready for his appointment, man. This was a good little run. We did a few hours on this one, huh?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah.
And,
thank you. I appreciate it.
Having me.
Man, it's awesome. Jason Tattooer, everyone go check him out. We already showed you. This is the actual man. Thank you, bro. Yeah. Thank you, David.
Yeah. No problem, brother.
As always, thank you, everyone. Tattooed Mind. We'll see you next time.
Yep.
Peace out, y'all.